In the summer of 1989, filmgoers were treated to the single greatest romantic comedy of all time, When Harry Met Sally. That was written by the legendary Nora Ephron. So we fast forward a few years. It's 1993, which is the subject of our first few episodes on To The Table podcast. And Nora Ephron has now written and directed arguably the second greatest romantic comedy of all time, Sleepless in Seattle, which is the subject of today's show. I am joined by two of my very best friends, Mr. Matt Dewis.
Hey, yo.
Mr. Randy Kirk.
Hey there.
I'm Steve Frazier. Welcome to the table. Now, Randy, this is the fourth highest grossing movie of 1993.
Yeah.
You didn't see it. Was this something that you actively avoided, or was it just not your cup of tea? What's the story here?
I wouldn't say I actively avoided it. And give me just 1 second here.
Oh.
Up real quick.
Our sponsor, non-sponsor, Ham's Beer.
Ham's the beer refreshing.
I wouldn't say that I actively avoided it. I think my first introduction to it was my uncle was dating a girl in 1993, and he took her to see this movie, and she became, obsessed with this movie, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, not immediately soured on it, but it was like, oh, it's just, I have no interest in this movie at this age.
Fans have a way of doing that.
They do have a way of doing that, and so it was just one of those, all right, I don't need to see it right now. I'll put it off, and I put it off, and I put it off, and 30 years later, I finally watched it.
I like it. So I think kind of one of the format points of our little show here is we kind of start off with preconceived notions. So we've all recently rewatched this movie. We hope that you guys have also rewatched the movie as well before listening. So we kind of wanted to go around and talk about what we thought we knew about it or what we remembered, blindly before we rewatched. Are you? What was your?
When I was younger, I completely mixed this up, which is fairly easy to do, with Harry Met Sally and this, because they're same damn person nearly and same female lead. It's kind of easy to mix them up a little bit, and so I always thought I remembered that it was all the old people talking about their meet cute stories
right.
in Sleepless in Seattle. Being younger, not the case now that...
Right. Yep, not the case.
No. But this is...
So what did you think you knew about Sleepless, other than you had the wrong beginning of the movie?
Well, thinking about Sleepless, it was... For me as a little kid, it was always... And this may be true now, it's always a little bit slow in certain parts. And so there's certain parts about it, and we'll talk about that in the way it was written, the way it's shown, that the slowness just dulled certain things down for me. And so as a kid, I couldn't pay attention because that guy from Big, he wasn't being funny.
Interesting?
Yeah, he wasn't being funny 24/7,
Sure,
So that's
yeah.
fair.
My preconceived, I thought, it was sappy, romantic, cheesy, and that's, we'll talk about if that holds up later, but, that's what I thought about it going into it. And then, like I said before, I really thought overhyped. I thought that there was all this hype around this movie that it didn't necessarily deter me, but it was definitely...
It was the Star Wars of romantic comedies, you're saying?
Of the era, yeah. It was.
I guess if we're talking preconceived, I was probably the most familiar with it of the three of us, hence me hosting this particular round. I kind of had this real flowery memory of it. Like Harry and Sally is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I had this, not that it was equal per se, but I kind of had them in the same breath. There was when you talk about great modern romantic comedies, clearly we have to cut off here. Romantic comedies didn't really exist in the way that we know them, kind of in the 70s. I feel like there weren't romantic comedies in the 70s. They were very popular in the 50s, Randy and
Yeah.
I both like The Apartment.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
Movies like that. Movies like An Affair to Remember, that this movie is, like partially based on.
Yeah.
Those, the old golden era romantic comedies are not the same. And I feel
Right.
like Harry and Sally is like the standard bearer of the modern rom-com. And I always kind of put Seattle as like the 1B, just in my mind. I had not watched it in probably 20 years, but in the 10 of its first existence, I've watched it multiple times.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of lingered there in my mind as this great movie. And I guess we'll find out what happens
So-
here. Go ahead.
So, I wouldn't say it's like 1B, because where this diverses from Harry Met Sally is Meg Ryan got to play off from Billy Crystal, and Billy Crystal's just everything, right? Fun fact with Uncle Do,
Oh, a new segment on the show.
Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, 2 minutes of screen time together,
And
the entirety of the movie.
You're right.
And so Meg Ryan plays off everybody else but.
the lead, right.
And so I think she's much stronger as a lead in When Harry Met Sally. And I think this is where we start to see, well, this is for a little bit later, this is where we start to see Meg Ryan actually start petering out.
Gotcha. That's a very interesting fact. I didn't know that. That was only 2 minutes. Totally makes sense, though.
Yep.
We kind of officially decided that we would kind of look at these movies on the show through the lens of maybe the Academy Awards, because that's what we all know and love. And so we kind of wanted to compartmentalize and do like technical aspects, things like writing or editing or cinematography or special effects or score, in kind of its own segment. And granted, rom-coms and various other non-dramas are going to be harder to do that with, but I think there's meat on the bone here for technicals. Starting with the fact that Nora Ephron was nominated for an Oscar for writing this movie, which I don't know if your face says maybe you didn't know that.
No, I did.
Okay.
But fun fact is, this wasn't her movie to begin with.
Okay.
This was a Gary Marshall movie and a different writer. She got brought in to script doctor.
Okay.
And after it went through a couple passes, a couple of the directors were like, well, this just isn't ours anymore. And Nora Ephron fought for it because she loved it so much. She goes, well, let me do it.
But I also heard that Nick Castle was attached to
Yeah.
the project at first.
Yeah.
He is, famous from Halloween as Michael Myers, so he was attached to direct it, but he did not like the approach, the comedic approach of
Right.
it. So he went
So
a
it went
different
Nick
direction.
Castle, then Nick Castle didn't like how lovey-dovey, how meet cute it was.
Sure.
And so he left, and then they got Gary Marshall, and Gary Marshall didn't like something with it, and so Nora came on to script doctor and said, let me have this.
I have two questions. Number
Okay.
one, first one's more rhetorical. How do you not have a romantic comedy without a meet cute feel to it? I feel like that's like number one rule for a rom-com, right?
Damn you, Nick Castle. Yeah.
So number two is more, I guess, for you, Randy, because granted, we both are giant horror fans and Halloween fans. Did Nick Castle have a movie career, like as far as like directing and?
He did. And now I'll be hard pressed. I'm actually
Well,
going
go ahead and look it up. That's fine.
Yeah, go to the
Behind the curtain. We all
Yeah,
have,
wiki here.
we all have phones. We all have Google. It's fine.
I'm kind of interested in this. How did a master of horror get attached
Well,
to
I wouldn't go so far as to call him a master of horror. He put on the costume and played Michael Myers in all scenes except for one in the original Halloween film.
Wait, didn't you guys meet this gent?
No, we met the other guy.
The other one.
The guy who played the one scene.
We've
Right.
seen Nick Castle at conventions.
Ah.
but-
Yes.
So, as far as a director, he did Tag, The Assassination Game, The Last Starfighter, which is a fairly big
It's a
movie.
name.
I like
And,
them both.
The Boy Who Could Fly, And he
Also a
did
movie from my childhood that I enjoy.
Tap with Gregory Hines and Sammy Davis Jr.
Uh-huh.
That's a very do movie.
And the same year, 93, he did Dennis the Menace. You
No
know,
kidding.
I
yeah.
remember that from my Fun Facts with Uncle Do.
And then, not to say that he ever, really hit his stride, but, his career kind of, teetered after that. He did Mr. Wrong with Ellen DeGeneres after
Ooh.
that in 95. And
Ooh, when
so
they tried to yeah.
he made a name
Poor
for
Matthew
himself, I
McConaughey.
guess. Enough to have, Sleepless in Seattle kind of forever etched like...
Yeah.
Now, so I guess, enlighten me if you know, how much was Nick Castle in, was any of it shot under his eye?
No, none of it was shot
Okay.
under Castle.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was passed off, and Efron completely took it over,
Completely.
made it into her baby.
Well, and that's why we got Meathead in it, is because weren't they married at one point in time? Or am I thinking of no Penny
That was
Marshall?
Penny Marshall.
Penny Marshall and Meathead. Who's Nora Ephron married to?
Somebody, but I don't remember.
Somebody.
Yeah.
But what you just said, because we're talking about technical here, and the music. So I have 2 points.
Yeah.
Because Shaman did the music for it, and he is a Reiner guy.
Yeah.
That's
so,
correct.
Yeah, he did most of Reiner's work.
I think 14 movies with Rob Reiner.
So lots, and but it also, in my opinion, kind of started that trend of jazz, or if you will, like coffee shops. Kind of what
You don't think
Starbucks
Connick
is all
Jr.
about.
did with Harry and Sally?
No, he probably did, and actually I put that in my note. I literally wrote Harry Connick Jr.
Well, you must remember this. That Jimmy Durante was in 2 or 3 other movies in 1993 in this same sort of
What a
situation.
payday at the
Right.
at the mailbox for that. Whoever wrote that song.
Yeah, no shit.
I don't know if Durante
The
wrote
Estate.
It. Yeah, I don't know if he wrote it.
No,
He
I
might
don't
not
think
have.
it was.
Mark Shaman.
Shame.
Did you?
Potato tomato. Tomato tomato.
He was also nominated for an Oscar for this movie.
Yes.
So interesting that, well, I guess you didn't poo-poo Shaman.
No, it was great. I mean, I liked it, but again, it was very subtle,
Right.
kind of undertoned, if you will. But I mean, I thought it was good music. But really, it to me, I think Harry Connick Jr. really did hit it with when Harry Met Sally, and then this one, it was like, oh, so this is a trend,
Right. Now, I'm not going to lie. I am usually pretty in tune with a soundtrack. I have a real hard time discerning whether a score is sometimes even present, let alone good, unless it's a kind of an iconic theme. Let's say like a John Williams Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Or something that is like an overture or a very melodious or whatever. Like background music doesn't strike me. Like I know when it's bad, but I can't tell you when it's good, and I can't tell you even what it was. So but if it's a soundtrack, that's different.
Yeah.
And we're going to be covering some soundtrack movies later on, so we can get into that. But yeah, I don't know.
One second, I'm just cracking open our
Oh.
other sponsor, non-sponsor, Liquid Death Water.
We're bound and determined to get either Ham's Beer or Liquid Death to sponsor this show. So if either of you are listening,
Liquid death water.
It's death water. It's the still. I don't do bubbles.
you're still living right now. So
Yeah.
he's literally two-fisting it with a Ham's and a Liquid Death.
Uh-huh. Gotta keep hydrated.
That's key.
Yeah.
It's key.
So, did you know? Well, I'm sure you did because you're a shaman guy, shaman. The other time that he was nominated for an Oscar was for he wrote "Blame Canada" in the South Park movie.
Yes, I did. I was gonna bring that up too, but you did, and which is great. I mean, if you're
What a
not known
career.
for anything else,
Yeah.
What a career! I have a very distinct memory of that night at the Oscars, watching. I believe it was Robin Williams, right?
Yes.
Dance on the stage
and I didn't write it down, but I did make another mental note that I guess Shaman brought a song to Team America that I guess did not make the cut.
That's a shame.
It is a shame, but Shaman. But yeah, I thought that it was.
Bless you.
But I did find that interesting because nominated for an Oscar for Blame Canada, and then you don't make the second round.
I guess since we're talking about technical stuff and cinematography falls in that, how about that blatant ripoff of the Home Alone 2 shot
Oh my god.
with the helicopter and the
It was blatant.
it was so blatant.
And also, I feel like Home Alone 2, little did I know, Chris Columbus, that really established the shot in Manhattan. I mean, that's the shot to get.
The only problem is Macaulay Culkin was standing on top of the Trade Center.
Right.
And,
Right.
we know what happened there. So, I, you don't?
Conspiracy.
He's had a few too many hams at this point.
No.
So, I enjoy, this particular one was on top of the, what do they call that building?
The Empire State.
Empire State.
State, yeah.
That's right. I kept wanting to say Chrysler Building, but no, that's the other one.
Nakatomi Plaza.
And well, it's also confusing because when they're having dinner in the Rainbow Room, when she decides that her marriage is over, and abruptly, her engagement, excuse me, and runs across town.
And wait, is it no sex in the Rainbow Room? No, it's the Champagne Room.
Champagne room.
Champagne Room. The Rainbow Room is actually at the top of the NBC building, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Which we've both been to. Have you ever been in the NBC building?
No.
In New York? Oh, it's really, they don't do tours right now. They stopped after COVID.
Yeah.
But it's a good time.
It is a good time.
I don't know.
Anyway, so that shot is a great shot. I mean, it's awesome. I love aerial shots of big cities. We're Chicago apologists, so, it's awesome anytime that there's an aerial shot of the city that you love, or I guess New York. And because New York is pretty, Central Park and whatnot.
It's okay.
Man,
You have heat with New York?
Eh.
what's wrong with New York, huh?
Their pizza sucks.
Oh, that's going to piss some people off.
I don't care.
We are sorry to our New York listeners.
Nope.
All right. Anybody else have any technical anythings that they would like to throw out there? Go ahead.
First use of the Columbia TriStar opening.
The one that looks like Annette Bening
Uh-huh.
that isn't.
No.
Right.
With the horse and everything.
Well, the horse was
The Pegasus?
Pegasus.
Yeah.
That was TriStar from like the 80s.
No, this is the first use of both of those. I don't
It might
know.
have been the first one
Oh,
combined.
together?
Combined.
Yeah, mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I know for sure Monster Squad 87 was, Pegasus.
Pegasus.
Yeah. No, yeah. So first use of it combined. So
No shit.
yeah, when they revamped
I
its
had
image.
no idea.
Yeah. Fun facts with
Or
Uncle Do.
Annette Bening going to get poked by that unicorn.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
then we usually transition into more like an acting and directing kind of thing.
What do you got to do?
Okay.
Any thoughts on how well this movie is or is not acted?
Some of the last fun facts with Uncle Do.
Oh,
Okay.
you just got a list of them there.
Yeah.
Shit.
Everyone offered Annie. Ready? Julia Roberts, Kim Basinger, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Jodie Foster.
You're very angry right now, Randy. You're shaking your head in disgust. Which one put you over? Jennifer Jason
I don't
Leigh?
like Jennifer Jason Leigh. I don't. I'm glad.
I knew you didn't.
Glad it was Meg.
A good thing you didn't say Anna Paquin.
Up for Sam was Dennis Quaid, Michael Keaton, Travolta, John Ritter, Bill Paxton.
I don't like any of them
No.
in this role.
No.
No, I think. Yeah.
John Ritter would have been okay. I think.
Yes.
Also in the Nora Ephron documentary, Everything is Copy,
Yeah.
Tom Hanks got the kid who was originally Jonah fired. The original.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he talks about how he got because the kid just was not good, and so he didn't like the kid. And he got them fired. He didn't name who the kid was, but he said, yeah, that kid did not mesh, and so he got them
Great
fired.
segue because I thought this Jonah was awesome.
He was good. He was also in Bye Bye Love.
Yep.
And that's maybe the only other thing that I remember him from. I haven't looked up his filmography, but that's the only other thing I know him from. And he's good.
Yeah.
I never saw that.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Uh-oh, Bye Bye Life. Put it on the list.
great. It's Paul Reiser. So.
Yeah.
Um,
When they were shoving him down our throats.
This is not my office.
I like Paul Reiser.
I love Paul Reiser. I'm a mad about you guy, but,
So, yeah, with the acting, though, I thought, Tom Hanks, he'd had a career for a while at this point.
10 years?
Yeah. But I just felt like everything that he did on screen was natural. I just felt like he just embodied. And it's not like it was a comedic role, but he took on some heavy stuff.
Sure.
And I felt like you could see he just dealt with both of them perfectly. And I thought
Hanks
it was awesome.
Hanks has a charisma that is immeasurable. Like you can't. It's impossible to quantify whatever that is that Tom Hanks has, which is why he's become like. If there's a male version of America's Sweetheart, like it's been Tom Hanks for 40 years.
Yeah.
And talk about a year. What a year Hanks had. He left this and then did Philadelphia, which won himself an Oscar.
Yeah.
His first. Like, whoa.
In
And
this-
talk about two different movies, right?
In the same year, in the Golden Globes, it was this for Best Comedy, and Philadelphia, which he won
Okay. Well, in Philadelphia, obviously nominated Best
for drama.
comedy,
Right.
Drama or
So same
comedy musical, and what a sham that
two
is.
different categories.
Oh yeah.
And he was in both, right?
Right.
And then after that, he does Forrest Gump. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like, what a run this guy. He was peak,
Yeah.
right? And then Apollo 13, like whoa.
But the scene that really stood out to me is, when Jonah calls in and Tom Hanks, takes over the phone and he's on the radio and he just sits there. And I'm in. I'm all in, and I'm just watching Tom Hanks just do what he does.
That I actually have that scene written down in my notes as well.
It's so good.
As
But
being,
get in here. If I'm doing this, you're going to do this with me. Like, it's a...
I absolutely love the way that this movie is written, and I get maybe Nora Ephron didn't do all of it, even though she get the credit and she did.
She retooled the whole thing.
Okay, well, all right then. And maybe it wasn't her baby originally. It wasn't her idea, but damn it, she knows how to write dialogue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I also have written down that dinner scene when Meg Ryan goes to her fiance's family's house for Christmas Eve or whatever.
Fuck, those people are so
The
waspy.
dinner table scene.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that is such a classically written, like, dialogue comedy scene. I feel like if you're gonna go back and revisit, let's say you didn't watch this before you listened to us, you're gonna watch 2 scenes in this movie. I would say pick that dinner scene or pick the first phone call, because those are like.
Well,
That's
it
good.
kind of shows off that the reason why spoiler alert, she eventually leaves Pullman is because of how boring the interactions with everybody are. Her life was just boring.
Right.
And Tom Hanks and Sam and Jonah were her little bit of fun and we don't know, right? Like, they met each other on the Empire State Building, but who knows what happened post. I mean,
You know that they're still together.
Oh, right, absolutely, because we live in a world where
Her life must have been pretty goddamn boring, huh?
Holy crap.
You're telling me you don't think they're still together in movie world today?
Well, I saw You Got Mail.
Oh, well. Also Nora Ephron, by the way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Wait, in the age of podcasts, you're telling me that Meg Ryan's character isn't listening to podcasts right now and fallen for a completely different story by this point?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, she has.
You think she's a jumper?
I don't know.
That the scene in that on that first phone call where she's in the car and she starts crying. Like, first she's tearing up at the story.
Yeah.
And then her face changes and she's crying over her own relationship. And it's like, fuck, Meg Ryan, like, has never been better.
Yep.
Well,
was
I take that
perfect.
back. Other than
So
all of her.
this is where we disagree.
Oh.
Because in this movie, I'm not a Meg Ryan fan. She is reacting to everybody. She plays a straight man to everybody else. And so it's just in her scenes, she is reacting to everything that is set up.
So, hot take here. I mean, just in general, I'm not a Meg Ryan guy.
I don't like her.
So I don't really like her either.
Now, you're saying that because you don't find her attractive?
No, well, that's also true. But no, it's just her.
Yeah.
Just on screen. I mean, there's really if I see Meg Ryan is starring in a movie, I may not see that movie. So
It's her reacting to everybody. Harry Met Sally. It's
I feel like that's her whole career.
right. It's Billy Crystal, who you are enamored with, and you're watching her react.
I will say that In the Cut
Crystal.
is one of 3 movies that I've ever walked out of the theater on.
Oh
Really?
yeah.
No
Oh.
So-
Who's that? Omar Epps.
Maybe. I don't know. But
Tony Shalhoub.
I just know Meg Ryan, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, but I mean,
You Got Mail, not as good as this movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's her reacting and trying to be a little bit bigger because she's like, I need to have a little bit more of a presence because here I made Kate and Leopold, and the best part of that movie was fucking Hugh Jackman and everybody else in it.
Was he Leopold?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
she
to
was
clarify.
Kate.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. She's Kate. He's Leopold. Who would have fucking
Damn it,
thought?
I never saw that movie.
Yeah. Don't.
So,
It's awful. So, you know, like,
Yeah, I did.
it's her. Genuinely, she's just eating up scenes.
You know they do say that acting is reacting, right?
Yeah, but you don't have to react like a piece of toast. Like, somebody's like, oh, Meg Ryan, she's whiter than white bread. Let's stand her up with a prop thing and have her react to everybody else. But she adds nothing to a scene.
You don't think that she drove the story in any way?
I think everything happened to her, and so because all of this was happening to her, it went, and this then happened, and this then happened. It wasn't, but therefore this happens.
All right. I do talk about that all the time, you know, as far as like a screenwriting structure. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
that's Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only other thing that I put on here was Reiner is a badass. I just feel like, you know, he's kind of always established himself as such. But just any scene that he's in.
I love Meathead.
Don't you just want to be his friend?
Absolutely.
I love Meathead.
Like, I want to be friends with
Meathead
Rob
direct,
Reiner today.
Meathead in it. Yeah.
He had a run, like, in late 80s, early 90s, where he was unstoppable.
Bye-bye love. You'll love him in Bye-bye Love. But I just feel like every scene that he's in, like you said, you want to be his friend, and he's not necessarily acting his ass off or anything. But
No.
you're just like, damn it, I
He's
love you.
he's kind of one of those Kevin Spacey types where he's always just playing himself.
Yeah.
Right.
But you like that guy.
Yeah.
So it's always charming and it's always good. Like Tom Hanks is always charming, but there's movies where you're like, holy shit, he's acting.
Yeah.
Where you can't necessarily say that about Rob Reiner, but at the same time you're like, fuck, this guy is my best friend.
That's right. Yeah.
Speaking of best friends,
Go ahead.
Rosie O'Donnell?
Oh,
Anybody?
Jesus Christ.
Come on.
This was peak O'Donnell here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
same year. This is the reason why she got, you know, that same year she got League of Their Own. That's the only reason why she's in this as well, is because it was like it was meandering and
Marshall.
yeah.
Right.
And so, you know, you're absolutely, I think she did this and East of Eden and what's the other one? It's
East of Eden is interesting.
I know what you're talking about, though. I know there's another one.
it's
in there.
Estevez and Dreyfus.
Stakeout. Another
Stakeout and
Yeah,
another
that's the
Stakeout.
one.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Either way, O'Donnell is charming as fuck, and I love her.
And funny.
I still love her to this day.
Once again, it is Meg Ryan reacting to O'Donnell. O'Donnell is driving all of those scenes. It's
know,
not Meg Ryan.
I feel like you're right. I feel like I'm changing my opinion.
I have changed your mind about Meg Ryan right now. It's her just chewing up scenery because somebody needs somebody to talk at.
Yeah, but she's mousy and she's cute and she's, I don't know. Like
My favorite parts of Meg Ryan in this movie is just how she plays an annoying character. She's very Karen, right? As the kids would say these days.
A little bit.
She knows how to play somebody who's going to just fucking annoy the fuck out of you. Can I get a tea with the bag out? You know, like how tea with the bag out, and they have the thing on. But the horses
Say it one more
is one of tea with the bag out.
There it is. Thank you.
But like she did the same thing. If I have this pie, you know, without the a la mode, if you have nothing, never mind then, no pie. You know, it's the same thing. It's just her being just extra.
So you don't blame that on Nora Ephron?
No, absolutely. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Where do you think the line is drawn where one ends and the other begins?
I think given any other person at that point in time, say
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh shit. Here we go.
Jennifer Jason Leigh in both of those scenes would absolutely be a little bit more endearing, right? Same thing with Jodie Foster, or not Jodie. Yeah, Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster she's a badass. She would kick the shit out of this.
Right. I meant
I think she's
Julia.
powerhouse for that.
Yeah,
She's too powerhouse.
I think Julia Roberts or Michelle Pfeiffer would be a little bit more. Michelle Pfeiffer maybe a little bit more softer in that role, maybe a little bit more endearing in that situation. You know, like there's just something rigid about Meg Ryan that just is off-putting.
It could be her voice.
What's funny is that both you just said Jodie Foster and Michelle Pfeiffer, and they're both a tad rigid.
Yeah.
It's a rigid movie.
But I think they're both
That's
a little
an
bit more
interesting
softer.
take.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take.
I do want to say something because I feel like we may just gloss over directing.
Yeah,
if you
well,
guys
yeah,
want.
that's fine. I mean, we've been kind of talking about Efron as a whole.
Yeah.
But we're talking Meg Ryan here, and I did just want to note that for 30 years here, the entire time that I've known about Sleepless in Seattle, I thought that Meg Ryan was the DJ on the radio
Oh,
station.
okay.
Oh, okay.
So going into it, I guess that this goes into preconceived, but I thought that Meg Ryan was the DJ, and I thought that it was Tom Hanks calling into her.
A la Straight Talk with with good old Dolly Parton.
That's right. Now I gotta go back and watch that. How many Dolly Parton movies have you guys seen?
Most of them.
Yeah, well,
Damn it.
not very many.
So
That's the problem.
I've even seen the made-for-TV movies that she's been in. Like,
Smoky Mountain Christmas?
oh, you fucking know it.
Hell yeah. That's a good one.
Uh-huh.
We
All right.
digress. So you thought that Hanks was called the caller,
Right.
which neither of those are.
Hold on, just to get a little bit off the path. You've never seen The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas?
No, I've seen that one.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
That
Sorry.
one I've seen.
No, back on track.
And I know we've seen Rhinestone.
Right.
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean that and the clicky nails one 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
But that might be it.
The clicky nails.
That's how she wrote the song.
Yep.
Her nails click.
Uh-huh.
It sounded like a typewriter.
Okay.
Anyway.
You were saying. I'm so sorry.
So you actually got both wrong.
I did.
Jonah was the caller. She was just a listener.
Yeah, I thought Tom Hanks was calling in as like a what's
Love line?
Yeah, that's it. What's his name? Dr. Drew. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Drew. I thought that was the one.
Sounds like.
Thought Tom Hanks was calling into a Dr. Drew type situation, and they
Too
thought,
much
oh,
class for honks to call in. It's got to be Jonah. Jonah sets him up.
You're right.
Yeah.
That was it was a much better situation.
And I always kind of thought, like, oh, what are the odds that, this 10-year-old kid's going to be listening to the radio or whatever? What's that gal that does the late night, like, advice show?
Sue Johansson?
No, I don't know. I'll think of it. There's a lady out there that does this now.
You
Dr.
said late
Ruth?
night lady, and I thought Rhonda Shear.
No, that's all night.
Right.
No. Anyway, it's on one of those,
Yeah.
Light FM kind of.
Oh, Delilah.
Delilah. Yeah, that's
Delilah.
it. Delilah, which is a national syndicated show.
Yeah, mhm.
So I assume that that's kind of what this is based on.
Well-
Now, the problem, what they revealed is that the Delilah radio host was in Chicago. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, maybe that's the connection.
Because
The kid.
that's
they
where
lived-
Sam and Jonah lived from, and so,
He knew about
Yeah.
the radio show because
Uh-huh.
he was from Chicago.
That's
So
what I always preconceived.
that piece of it actually didn't come together for me until this viewing.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
No shit. I love the little kids' like interactions with everybody else, like him and the mailman, him and Victor Garber and Rita Wilson. Like I love his interaction, except for when it gets to the point where Honks starts dating that annoying woman.
Yeah, she is annoying.
Then he runs off the train. I'm like, oh, why are you being such a whiny bitch, Jonah? Like it's awful.
Well, he's 10. I don't know. I think it's fair.
So the only
Any other
other
notes?
so random stuff. I do feel like this was quintessential 1993. I mean, if 1993 had a feel,
Yeah.
this is pretty up there. And then I just put in a quote, writing down some notes here. The random onlooker as Jonah's going up to the Empire State Building, and he says, and I quote, "What you gonna do when you get up there? Spit off the top?" So I like that quote.
That sounds like something. Oh, you also were talking about the the two kids in their little sign language, not sign language, their initialisms.
The H&G, hi
Yeah.
and goodbye.
Mhm.
So cute. I love it. Memorable.
I do think that like what a predictor, right? That like everybody in today's world would use abbreviations not out of cuteness but out of laziness.
Sure.
But back then it was cute.
And Nora Ephron or not, they were, ahead of their time and knowing that, like, hey, I'm listening to how my kids are talking. I'm going to put this into a screenplay.
Yeah, brilliant.
Take it back to Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All the way
I was
back.
going to say, don't pay attention to what your kids are saying because we're not putting that in the screenplay.
You don't like the fit? Get on the Riz.
Risen?
Yeah, you risen. Since you're such a Seinfeld fan,
Yeah.
this is the first hearing or interaction of the Soup Nazi, the original Soup Nazi.
Oh, I read about that.
Yeah?
Yep.
So tell me more.
So in one of the magazine scenes, right, they're all sitting on there's the guy who's been in everything from like Frasier to everything else. Like he's a character actor, he's the big doughy one. And then there's the skinny straight guy. And he goes, there's this guy and there's soup and you have to know what you have to have on the soup, or otherwise he's so angry. He's this angry soup guy. And it's one of those things
Did I
like
mention this in the movie?
yeah.
How did I miss this?
I don't know.
Randy, you and I are both Seinfeld fans. How did we...
True. I kind of missed it too, actually, when I was watching it, but I did go back and read some trivia.
Yeah.
And I read about that. And I was like, wait, where was that in
Yeah,
the movie?
peek behind the curtain. Randy and I watched this together.
Yep.
Rewatch, and I feel like if one of us would have caught that, we would have like maybe not paused, but we would have talked about it.
Definitely talked about it. And look at you. You brought it up.
Hey,
You brought it to the table.
it's always been a thing. Like I wonder if Frasier.
No,
Soup
never
Nazi.
knew that.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
And it was probably '94 on the Seinfeld. So
Right.
It must have really just been hot at the time. Like up
A
and coming.
big thing about in
Right.
New York, you
Right.
know.
All right. Well, we can wrap this one up.
Okay.
You want to rank?
Lasting impressions. Are you going to watch this ever again?
Oh yeah, probably.
Oh, I'm watching it next week.
No, shut up.
No. Oddly enough, we had gotten together, and usually when we do get together for a party or whatnot, when it's a later evening, the missus will fall asleep in the car, and I will have her turn on a Netflix or whatever. Usually, the last couple of times it's been Shawshank, but
So she falls asleep and you watch a movie while you're driving.
yes, correct. I overhear the movie while I am driving.
And maybe Overwatch.
No. Phone's usually other side because she's falling asleep with the phone in her
Hey,
hand.
please state your license plate.
No, absolutely not. But Sleepless in Seattle is usually a movie that gets put on when we're driving home.
You gotta be kidding me.
No? Mm-mm.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I may never watch this movie again.
Really?
Yeah.
So you didn't like it? You thought it was okay?
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have a staying power like Harry Met Sally.
If I have a reason, like this podcast, if 20 years from now or whatever, Morgan, or 15 years from now, Morgan, my daughter, says, hey, I want to watch Sleepless in Seattle. All right, sure, I'll watch it with you. But
Yeah.
other than that, I can't find a reason why I would go back and watch it just because I want to.
Okay.
I don't think it held up exactly but pretty close. I remember it being like super charming, maybe not tearjerker level. Go ahead.
Nope, you go ahead. Sorry. I was just going to say, I mean, the one random thought that I had is that I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it between the two of them.
Yeah.
I felt it between Hanks and
There was
Jonah.
only 2 minutes of screen time
the
before.
father and son.
Yeah.
I felt that. Like that was well written, great, well acted. But I just feel like it was. I didn't feel the romantic connection. It wasn't like I said. My preconceived notion was it was sappy and romantic, and it was.
Neither?
I felt like they were both in search of something,
Right.
but it wasn't necessarily each other.
I thought that it was a one-way street, really. Like,
Yeah.
I thought Hanks's infatuation, love at first sight with her was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's you.
It was fucking
Right.
Meg Ryan's ass.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. That's got to be it.
Yeah.
She didn't play
Well,
off it
okay,
well
so
enough.
I guess since we're doing this, what kind of a ranking, like an out of 10
Yeah.
IMDb type score would you give it?
Yeah, we're not doing points.
Okay.
No Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, no.
So maybe we go halves.
We can do halves.
Holes and halves.
Holes and halves?
Well, then
Yeah, old Ebert / IMDb.
I'm going 6 out of 10.
All right. Wow. That's low for me.
I'm also about 6.5, yeah.
6.5. Wow. So I originally, in my mind, I think I had this at like a 9.
Woof.
In my mind.
Yikes.
And when I no, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah.
On the rewatch, I think it dropped to like an 8, but I still think it's really, really great.
An
And
8?
I still love it.
Watch it again. Watch it as Meg Ryan is just reacting
You know
to everybody
what?
else.
Sally Albright can do no wrong,
Ugh.
regardless of what movie she's in.
Ugh. All right. I think that's pretty much it for this episode of Welcome to the Table, guys.
This has been fun.
Yep.
Let's do it again. 1993. More 93 coming up.
93 coming up.
I suppose we should just go ahead and plug the next episode so that everyone can have a chance to watch it now.
Oh, yeah.
I believe Randy will be hosting the next one, so... No.
Yeah.
Oh, Randy's doing this one?
Yeah.
All right. So give everybody a little cock tease about what's coming up next.
So the next episode will be This Boy's Life, starring Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. So, do you have never seen this?
I've never seen this movie.
And
I had also never seen it
Steve
before.
Frazier, whom I will just refer to as Frage from here on out,
Please do.
has also never seen This Boy's Life. So it's a heavy drama from 1993, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, that they've never seen. So I'll bring that one to the table. I've seen it many times.
So join us next time when Randy brings This Boy's Life to the table.
Until next time.
Nighty-night.